Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Alton West. Today I will have guests on from City Hall, along also with a guest from the LaGrange Police Department. So you want to make sure that you stay tuned for those interviews coming up in just a moment. Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have the pleasure of sitting down with the City Manager, Tom Hall, to talk about the upcoming budget that was approved a couple of months ago. So Tom, welcome to the show.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to sit down with you. I know that we get a chance to work together there on the floor and talk about various things, but a lot of times the people don't know what it really takes to run this city. So you're the gentleman that has that number at hand, and let's just kind of talk about that. But before we get started, talk about your role as the city manager for us.
Well, my job, I am the Chief Operating and Administrative Officer of the city. I'm appointed by the City Council and serve at their pleasure. I'm the only one at the city that gets paid to have 7 bosses.
Okay.
Which sometimes makes life complicated, but right. Everybody else at the city works for somebody.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, they all, through the chain of command, work for me, and then I report to the mayor and council. So it's a big job. It's a lot of fun, and I work with a lot of great people. So it's a challenge, but it's a lot of fun.
It is. We sit there and we kind of holler across the room at each other, but it's kind of that controlled chaos, as the old saying goes.
Well, for those, the folks watching, if you've not been up to City Hall, it's a little different than what you would typically envision a government office to look like, in that we don't really have offices.
That's right.
Most of the senior level staff at the city, as you're aware, work in a big room. And just like you say, it's sort of controlled chaos. We got a lot going on. But the reason we did that is we did it, gosh, it's been 10 or 11 years ago now.
That's right.
But the reason we did that is because it facilitates communication amongst department heads and the senior staff. So we don't have to have a lot of meetings.
That's right.
Everybody sort of knows what's going on because we're all just sitting there in that room.
That's right.
And so it facilitates, effective decision making and good communication. And we have some laughs, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of serious work.
That's right, absolutely. And talking about serious work, when you're putting together the budget, that is probably one of the most serious pieces of government that we do and that you do. Talk a little bit about some of the things that go into the making of the budget. Yeah,
the budget is really, there's a lot of numbers in it, and it's the spending plan, but it's also sort of the major policy document of the city. It outlines what it is the city hopes to accomplish in terms of projects and initiatives and things like that during the coming year. The whole process gets started actually at the end of February. We send things out to the agencies that we fund and to all the department heads to prepare their budgets, and then I sit down pretty much the whole month of April with the department heads, as you're aware, and go through it in excruciating detail, some would say.
That's right.
And then once we get that number down to something that is something I feel I can sell to the city council, then we'll have a work session with the city council and go through the whole document. In total, it's about, in this year, the one that was just approved, it's about $107 million for the year. But I'm pleased to say, once again, I think for the 16th consecutive year, we've been able to fund the city operation without property taxes. There is not any immediate rate increases proposed in the budget. We certainly had some challenges with it, but I'm pleased to, report to the viewers out there that the city is in sound financial shape. The budget has 2 less people, as we do every year or every time we lose a person. As you're aware, we sort of look at what our options are, how we can reshuffle the deck and hopefully do the same job or even more with less resources, and that's how we've been able to keep the city financially healthy and going without having to impose taxes, and without actually our last utility rate change was actually a rate decrease of about 10% in water. So the city's in good shape. We're going to be able to fund all the services and also manage the major capital projects that we're going to need to do in the coming year.
Oh, very good. You talk about 2 less persons. I know how we kind of, like you say, we just kind of roll those duties into other individuals there. And during times where we saw other cities doing layoffs and furloughs and things of that nature, and I think that attributes to the fact that we kind of, you run this business as a business and you lean and mean.
Well, it's lean. I don't mean like but we actually, if you look at the things that the city does now compared to what we did 18, 19 years ago when I first became city manager. And we've added some things
Right.
like telecommunications and commercial sanitation, but those things make
That's right.
money for the citizens. If you look at the same things we were doing, 18 years ago with what we're doing now, we're actually running the city with about 26 less people. So that's,
Okay.
that's significant, and it does allow us to keep the city financially healthy and find a way, use technology, combine responsibilities, find the right equipment to make us more effective. And it's all just a process of management, like you say, running the business.
That's right.
And that's, the city, I mentioned it's $107 million. About $82 million of that is enterprises. And that's the city's business. That's the electric business, the natural gas business, water, sewer, telecommunications, sanitation, landfill, methane gas utility. We do a lot of stuff and generate income. And we generate about $12 million a year off the provisions of all those enterprises that we use to transfer into the general fund, which allows us to manage the government purposes. And we are still a city. And,
That's right.
and even though we run all these various enterprises, we still have a police department, a fire department. We've got to maintain the roads
right.
and all that sorts of thing. But that $12 million, that transfer into the general fund is what allows us to operate the government without having to rely on property taxes like most other places.
And that's always a plus to the citizen. We just like for them to, continue to realize that they get those services without having the property taxes.
Well, and the other thing that's important to us and to the city council is that while we provide these enterprises and we're able to generate some income off of them, we provide them at a price that is below what's typically available in other areas of Georgia.
That's right.
And the good thing about that, if we were just charging a ton of money for electric utilities or natural gas, and it wasn't competitive in the marketplace, well, that would just sort of be like another way of taxing people.
That's right.
Instead, when we look at it, we're between 15 and 20% below most of the other providers in the area and most of the other areas of Georgia, particularly when you look at natural gas. So that represents not only a value to the consumer, but then the people that live here as the owners of the utility at the end of the day, they get the dividend for doing that. They're getting a value on the transaction, but then they're also getting the benefit of not having to have property taxes to support their government. So it's an interesting model. As a matter of fact, I've got a delegation of about 20 people coming tomorrow from Seoul that had heard about, well, they want to visit Key, of course, but they had heard about LaGrange and how we manage the city and have had a certain amount of success with that, and they want to come talk to us about that. So
Very good.
it's interesting.
Very good. And talking about those enterprises, Tom, I wanted to ask my next question, kind of leading into how has the region, growth impacted what we do as a city?
Well, not as much as we had thought before the recession hit, certainly, particularly on the residential side of things. The residential housing market, and you're intimately involved with that,
Right.
is still sluggish.
That's right.
I'm hoping that over the next couple of years that starts to pick up a little bit. We have had a number of important job growth opportunities with the car company and the related suppliers, and that continues.
That's right.
I expect that to continue for the next several years. Additional job creation in LaGrange and West Point and Troup County. So that's certainly good news. When Milliken cut back, that hurt us a little bit.
That's right.
It hurt us not only in terms of the people that had to move to Spartanburg or otherwise lost their jobs. They were also an important utility customer of ours, and we had to make adjustments in our operation as it relates to that. But we're holding our own. We're a lot more fortunate than a lot of other areas of the country.
That's right.
The job growth is going to continue, and we're just waiting, on some corresponding residential growth and hopefully some growth in the commercial areas as well.
Absolutely. We do see a couple of things coming on the horizon, as far as commercial is concerned. As you stated, that we're definitely looking for that housing to kind of bounce back.
Now that's kind of a chicken and egg sort of problem. A lot of the retailers look to rooftops and numbers before they want to make an investment in a community.
That's
and
right.
So while we all want that retail, and the city's got certain strategies in place, the voters were good enough to allow us redevelopment powers, which involves the creation of TADs or tax allocation districts, and we have created a couple of them, but we really need that residential growth to kind of spur the whole thing along.
Absolutely. It's you say that domino effect there. Let me ask you, Tom, and I know that there, many departments within the operating budget. Are there some of the departments that require more resources, and if they are, what's that need?
Well, our budget this year is actually up. It was $101 million last year. It's $107 million this year. And a budget is an educated guess. It's going to be wrong in some respect. You never get it to the dollar.
Right.
So we're projecting things, but so you got a $6 million increase. It's interesting when you look at the budgets for the purchase of natural gas and the purchases of electricity. That's up $6 million, and that's based on the futures market of what the wholesale markets are telling us what the futures strip for natural gas as a commodity is going to be. As well as the fixed costs and variable costs associated with electric generation. So if you take that out of it, the budget basically is static. So in terms of the general fund budget, the police department's the single largest operating department. It employs 100 people, and it's the fundamental basic thing that we're responsible for as a city is ensuring the safety of our citizens.
Absolutely.
But if you look at the city as a whole, the two largest departmental budgets are electricity, because it includes the cost of wholesale electricity, which is around $40 million a year, as well as the gas department, which includes the cost of wholesale purchase of natural gas, and that runs about $15 million, the largest ones.
As we get ready to close out, because we're talking $100 million, we talked $106 million last year. On an average daily cost, so that the viewers can kind of get an understanding, what does it cost to run the city? It
costs, and this is going to surprise some people. You just do the math. But if you look at it, it costs $290,000, $300,000 a day. A day to run the City of LaGrange. It's a big operation. Big operation.
Well, Tom, we're glad that you're at the helm and definitely driving this train, and we're glad to be able to have you come on the show to talk about this.
Glad to do it. I look forward to doing it again.
Well, definitely we'll get back on again. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're back to more City Week in just a moment. Welcome back to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Now I have one of our own here from the LaGrange Police Department, Investigative Sharon Clark, who happened to have an occasion to be on a fishing excursion, and it came very interesting. Investigative Clark, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, I know that you were on a vacation here in Florida, and there were some events that took place. But before we get started, I know that you have been in law enforcement for more than 20 years. Is that correct? Talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
I've been in law enforcement, I guess, about 18 and a half, 19 years. I worked for Georgia Department of Natural Resources before I came to the City of LaGrange.
Okay.
And now now I'm working for the City of LaGrange Police Department.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. And me myself, I started out in law enforcement some years ago, back in 1988, and spent 7 years down there. So I know all the fine young men and women down there that do a wonderful job. And talking about doing a wonderful job, I know that I heard about and that you had an occasion to be on a fishing trip. Talk a little bit about the fishing trip that you were on, and where was that?
I went on a fishing trip with my son down to Apalachicola Bay. Around St. George Island. It was me, him, and a friend of mine. We just took the weekend, and I just took him and went on an excursion. Just a man weekend, I guess you could say.
That man out there.
That's right.
I understand. I understand. And I think while you were there, some events took place that we use the word hero loosely here, but there was an event that took place that you had an occasion to come to the aid of a gentleman there. Talk about that for us, if you don't mind, Sean.
St. George Island Bridge runs from East Point to St. George Island. There is the highest point of the bridge. Below the bridge, there's some concrete pads that actually hold the pylons balanced.
Okay.
and the gentleman, there was a work group that was on top of the bridge actually inspecting the bridge. They were using an escalator type advice to go underneath the bridge and look for any cracks or anything like that.
Oh, okay. And then I think you and you kind of in the boat there in the water fishing, and I think an event unfolded where the gentleman lost his balance there and I think fell from the bridge. Is that correct?
Yes. We were not actually in the boat. We were actually standing on a concrete pad. We had tied the boat off up underneath the bridge and got on. The water was too rough to be in the boat. I don't know what happened to the equipment or exactly the the whole events of how he actually fell. Well, I'm not going to get into that. I just know he had an accident and he fell. And when he fell and hit the water, he was still inside of a cage with his harness on. And then I jumped in and pulled him up and then swam him over to a set of pylons that actually connect to the bridge.
Okay. And you know, so many times when people, you know, see an event take place like that, and everybody always asks that question, what's going through your mind? When you saw that happen, Sean, what was going through your mind, seeing the gentleman fall there in the water? What was the first thing that perhaps entered your mind?
I don't really know. I hope he's alive. I knew I had to help him. And I thought that actually that the cage may have fell on top of him, but he actually was in the cage, and the cage landed right side up, enable him to come up.
Okay. And I think the gentleman still had all of his secure or safety harness and all of those things in place and everything of that nature.
He did.
And I noted a week ago, I think the mayor and council also honored you and kind of recognized you for your heroism that took place there. And you know, and again, we wanted to get you on to talk a little bit about what happened there and some of the things that was going through your mind. And I think someone had asked the question there, did you catch any fish while you were there on your fishing trip?
Yeah, we had a great trip.
Had a great trip. Well, Sean, it's a pleasure to kind of have you come on and talk about the event that took place there. I'm gonna ask you, would you go back down to Apalachicola and do any more fishing?
All the time.
All the time. Well, very good.
I plan on retiring down there one day.
Oh, well, very good, very good. And now, what are some of the? Because I like to fish myself, I want to ask, what are some of the fish that you guys caught?
We caught some redfish and some speckled trout, sheephead, and what they call black drum.
Okay, all right. Well, very good. Well, Sean, again, I wanted to bring you on the show to just kind of show our appreciation and thanks to you for your fast act to help save a gentleman that could have, I guess, probably could have been a more serious situation there had you not been there and to respond so quickly to render aid there. So thank you very much for coming on and just kind of sharing your story with us here today.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're back for more City Week in just a moment. Today we're sitting down with a delegation from Seoul, Korea that are students for the Carl Vinson, and today we're sitting with Joel Lim, correct?
Yes.
Okay, tell me a little bit about what you think about your trip thus far, Joel.
We are taking Korean officials to various public agencies in Georgia and hopefully next week in San Francisco. And so far, they've been impressed with how things work out in the United States, particularly planning aspect. When you focus on economic development here, they think that the unique thing in the United States is to plan for long term, but in Korea implementation is fast and effective, but in terms of planning, we need a lot of work to do.
That's very interesting. You talk about planning and implementation because I'm the director of community development. You say it's fast and effective there, and we try to kind of methodically think it out. So, and this morning you guys were there, and this is your first time in the United States as well?
Oh, no, I'm a graduate student at the University of Georgia.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, very good. And I heard you guys mention San Francisco.
Right.
So you guys are looking forward to going to San Francisco as
Yeah,
well?
I've never been to San Francisco, so I'm looking forward to seeing how city is, looks like. And
Well, I can tell you, it's a large place. I've been there a number of times, and the Golden Gate Bridge, I understand that you guys will be visiting, is a fantastic landmark there in the city. It's right there on the ocean, and then you guys will get an opportunity to see Alcatraz as well there. You may not want to go there for a long period of time, but you get an opportunity to see it. So, in your role as a student, what is your area of studies?
I study public budgeting and finance.
Okay.
So mostly these guys work on parking and transportation. So I may not be ideal person to introduce concepts on transportation and parks to them. I'm kind of trying to help they understand, during our tours to understand how, English and, presentations.
Okay, well, very good. Well, we definitely want to just say congratulations on your being here, and just hope for you all the very best. If you would like to just say something to some of your family members, you may do that at this time.
제복 엄마 지금 우리 딸아이 때문에 고생을 하는데 조금만 더 열흘만 조금 더 고생해 주시고 곧 돌아가겠습니다.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, it's a pleasure
Thank
to
you
meet
very
you.
much.
Okay.
These guys are coming from Korea, Seoul Metropolitan Government, and they are public officers, and they are now training. We are now training for them to learn about the American transportation, eco-friendly policy, sustainability, and the environment policy in all of the United States. But in this time, we picked up the Georgia and the San Francisco for the delegation
Okay, and why Georgia and San Francisco?
because we want to see the LaGrange, so that's why.
The City of LaGrange is the best. Okay, we agree with that. Okay, so you all are here visiting the city, and you'll be here for the day.
Here they're gonna spend like 4 days, 4 nights,
Okay.
and they're gonna spend another 4 nights in San Francisco.
In
So
San
we
Francisco.
will move to San Francisco on this Saturday.
Oh, okay, on Saturday you'll be going to San Francisco, and I think you all have a tour lined up after leaving here today. Where will you be going on the tour?
After this one, we are going to Kia Motors.
Okay.
And then after that, we are going to see the Braves game.
Oh, the
hopefully,
Braves game.
Hopefully, we don't have
Hopefully.
any big rains tonight. So.
Okay.
And then tomorrow, we will go to Atlanta Beltline.
Okay.
And then Atlantic Station to see around the eco-friendly policy in Georgia. And then in San Francisco, we'll go to Golden Gate, some other very good spots
Sightseeing
for
place, right?
tourists.
Sightseeing
Yeah.
spot. Very good. So you're a Braves fan?
I'm not.
You're not a Braves fan?
I love baseball. I'm not a special fan. So,
Okay,
yeah,
all
I
right,
love
very
baseball.
good.
General fan.
General fan.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Hope that you all enjoy the game, and hope that you enjoy your tour of Kia Plant. And then when you go to the West Coast, San Francisco,
Yeah.
hopefully you'll have a pleasant trip there as
Okay.
well. So today you all here at City Hall, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you guys got an opportunity to meet with our city manager?
Yes.
Okay.
Tom. What is his name? Tom.
Tom Hall.
Yeah. Yes.
Tom Hall.
We met
Okay.
him. Yes.
All right, very good.
Can we get an impression, an overall impression of what they thought about the city?
Sure, I will. We were asking that you guys were just down at City Hall. What's your impression of City Hall and the way the government is ran?
Actually, this is also my first time to visit LaGrange and like them. So,
Okay.
I mean, the city of LaGrange looks like very peaceful, calm.
Okay.
And based on the introduction in this morning, we feel like the LaGrange has some like advanced policy for the telecommunication and the other public services to the LaGrange residents.
Okay, so the advanced technology of something
Yes.
was appealing to you all?
Yes.
Okay, well, the way the government is ran, what do you think about, because I think you all talked about some of the, I guess, the way the monies is raised to operate the government. What do you think about that?
I mean, it is a totally different situation from Korea. I mean, especially Seoul in Korea. So maybe we need to research on that
Research on
further, and then we can tell what is the difference and what is the impression from the LaGrange city.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
and you guys, and you guys again are with the Carl Vinson Institute?
Yes.
West of University of Georgia? correct?
Yes, in Athens.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, very
like
good.
4 hours from here, far away from here.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, well, if you want to say anything to your family members back in Seoul, Korea, you go ahead and do that.
In Korean or in English?
You can do it in both if you like. You can do it in both. Yeah.
Actually, my parents will come to United States in the end of July, so I hope my parents will have a safe trip when they come to United States for my commencement.
Well, very good. Well, tell them that in English and in Korean if you don't mind.
Don't
My-
forget your girlfriend.
네, 어서 오세요 우리 엄마 아빠 어서 오세요. Yeah, that is Korean.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
thank you. That's it.
That
That's
was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I just
great.
hope they have a safe trip to
A safe
United
trip.
States because this is also their first time to come to United States. So.
Well, very good. Well, we do wish them a very safe travel here and to get the opportunity to see you at commencement, correct?
Okay.
All right, very
Yeah.
good. It was a
Thank
pleasure
you.
sitting
Yeah,
down
nice
with
to meet you.
All right, nice to meet you.
예, 안녕하십니까. 저희들은 여기 그 라그랑주 LGTV에 방문해갖고 여기 그 아주 환영을 받고 있습니다. 그래갖고 여기 스튜디오에 들어와갖고 지금 하여튼 아나운서석에 앉아 있습니다.
안녕하십니까. 라그랑주 LGTV에 오신 거를 환영합니다. 이 라그랑주에 오신 것에 대해서 저 간단히 소감을 말하면은 진짜 너무 평화롭고 아주 기분이 그 우리 전원 도시의 것처럼 아주 상쾌하고 좋습니다. 감사합니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining for City Week this week. My guests have been the city manager, Tom Hall, as he talked about the recently approved budget that reflects $107 million. And he also talked about the enterprises and other things that we can look forward to happening here in the city over the next coming year. Also, I had on from the LaGrange Police Department. I had investigator Sean Clark, who was on a recent fishing trip, had an occasion to be a hero by saving a young man that had fallen into the water there. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed these interviews, and as always, I want to invite you back for more of City Week.